بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, we're continuing today during our Chai nights going through the book Al-Mushawwiq ila al-Qira'ati wa Talab al-Ilm, the motivator to learning and seeking knowledge. And Alhamdulillah, with the last sitting we finished the chapter where the author was talking about the love that the scholars had in regards to reading books and buying books. Now he moves on to the next chapter, which is still regarding books, but it is regarding reading those lengthy books, those encyclopedias if you want to call them. Because reading long books which are voluminous, 10 volumes, 20 volumes, 30 volumes, 50 volumes as we're going to see as well, these books, they require a lot of qualities and a lot of skill from a person, from being able to read quick and understand and so on. But from the biggest factors that allow a person to complete reading a book as big as 50 volumes, 40 volumes and so on, in very short periods of time, is having high aspiration and having that zeal to learn about the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's why this topic, this chapter, he's titled it في قراءة المطولات, regarding reading the long books في مجالس معدودة, in a short number of gatherings, or in a limited number of sittings. And in here he mentions a number of stories, and it's quite long, it's about 30 pages, but I'll summarize it. I'm only mention about 4 or 5 different scholars and their experiences with reading these long books. So he first starts off with a very famous narration regarding Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi. Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, it was narrated that he read all of Sahih al-Bukhari, maybe more than 5,000 hadith. He read the whole book to his teacher, not by himself, but to his teacher, in 3 days. The first day from Dhuhr till Isha, the second day Dhuhr till Isha, and then the third day from the morning till Maghrib, and then again Maghrib till Fajr again. And with that he was able to read all of Sahih al-Bukhari in just 3 days. And there was another time where he read Sahih al-Bukhari to another teacher and he finished it in 5 days. Now you can just imagine, do you think we will be able to do something like that? Where you can read something as big as Sahih al-Bukhari to a teacher in just 3 days or in 5 days. And that's why Imam al-Dhahabi comments and he says, وَهَذَا شَيْءٌ لَا أَعْلَمُ أَحَدًا فِي زَمَانِنَا يَسْتَطِيعُ. Imam al-Dhahabi says, this is something that no one in our time can do. And this is Imam al-Dhahabi, who was alive 7 centuries ago. And then also he mentions other narrations. So he mentions there's a scholar called Talha ibn Muzaffar al-Althi al-Hanbali. He recited Sahih Muslim in 3 sittings, not in 3 days, but in 3 sittings. There was another scholar, Ibn al-Abbar. He recited Sahih Muslim in 6 days. So in less than a week he recited all of Sahih Muslim. Likewise, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he read a book called Ghaylaniyat, which is a hadith book which has about 1200 hadith. He read that whole book in one sitting. In one sitting he read that whole book. We have another scholar called Al-Hafiz Al-Qasim Al-Barzali. He studied so much with so many different teachers, it is narrated that he had 3,000 teachers. That he had 3,000 different teachers. And the author mentioned some of the books that he has studied with them. So he read to Ibn Asakir 550 juz. Juz are small books of hadith on a certain topic. So there's a small little book on that topic. So maybe like 10 pages, 20 pages and so on. But he read 550 of them to his teacher Ibn Asakir, and he also read to him 23 volumes of other books as well. And he goes on to mention a number of other examples. He read to Jamaluddin al-Zahiri more than 100 juz. He read Musnad al-Darimi more than 10 times to one of his teachers and so on. And then he mentions more examples. I just want to mention 2 more scholars inshallah, 2 famous scholars. One is Zainuddin al-Iraqi. Zainuddin al-Iraqi is a very famous muhaddith. Anyone who studied Mustalah al-Hadith will know him. He's the one who wrote the 1009 poetry in Mustalah al-Hadith, known as Al-Fiyat al-Iraqi. He has said that he read Sahih Muslim, all of it, in 6 sittings. And these sittings were back to back, and In these sittings, Ibn Rajab rahimahullah, he was also present, and he would sit on the side, and Ibn Rajab would also sit down, and he would correct any mistakes that he had in his books. And he also read the Musnad of Imam Ahmad. The Musnad of Imam Ahmad, if you've seen how many volumes it is now, it's 52 volumes, this book. 52 volumes, and this scholar, Zain al-Din al-Iraqi, read it in 30 sittings. In a month, he read 52 volumes. And lastly, we'll mention Ibn Hajar, rahimahullah. I'm pretty sure everyone's heard of Ibn Hajar. Ibn Hajar, he mentions how he read al-Musnad, to the same book that we mentioned, the Musnad of Imam Ahmad, which is 52 volumes, to his teacher in 35 sittings. And he had recited Bukhari, all of Sahih Bukhari in 10 sittings. And even in these 10 sittings, one of his students, As-Sakhawi, asked him about these 10 sittings, and he said that we had breaks in between. But if I was to not have these breaks, it would have been less than 10. He read Sahih Muslim in 5 sittings. He read Sunan al-Kubra by al-Nasa'i, which is not Sunan al-Nasa'i, there's another one, a bigger one, that Imam al-Nasa'i wrote. He read that in 10 sittings. Sunan Ibn Majah in 4 sittings. Mu'jam al-Saghir by Tabarani, another hadith book, in 1 sitting. And they mention a lot more examples. And in this chapter, the author mentions a lot more examples, and he mentions some contemporaries like Ibn Baz as well. He says Ibn Baz, somebody read Sunan al-Nasa'i to him in 27 sittings. The point being is that, these are scholars, these names that I've mentioned are scholars that you hear all the time. Ibn Baz, Ibn Hajar, Ibn Rajab, Iraqi. These are scholars whose names are repeated and repeated and repeated. And even though they passed away centuries ago, it's not like, we don't feel that they passed away. They're still alive because we're still mentioning their name, we're still reading their books, we're still benefiting from their work, and they're still getting the reward. They've died 700 years ago, 800 years ago, 900 years ago. They're still getting rewarded. And we are still benefiting from their works. And again, if you ask that question, that how is it that they reach this high status, is because of that love that they have for that knowledge, and the high aspirations they had, and that serious and devotion that they had to learn about the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, I'm not asking anyone to read all of Musnad Imam Ahmad 52 volumes. I've not read it myself, so I'm not going to ask anyone to do that. But what we can ask is the bare minimum, that the foundations of your religion, such as the questions of the grave, who is your Lord, who is your Prophet, what is your religion, a book which can be memorized. I've memorized it. Some kids who are reciting to me, they're memorizing it right now. I know kids in Masjid Nabawi, they've memorized it. Kids who are not even reached the age of puberty, they've memorized it. It's like a joke, just memorized it. Like we memorize Surah Ikhlas, they've memorized these books. These types of books, we shouldn't have an excuse. If the scholars are going through all of that effort to read 2 volumes in 1 day, and 52 volumes in a month, and all of Bukhari in this many days, why is it that we can't make an effort to learn about something which is obligatory upon us to learn anyway, how to pray salah? If somebody was to ask you, what are the conditions of salah? What are the pillars of salah? How many of us would be able to answer that question with certainty? And you'd be surprised sometimes if you ask people, where is Allah? They won't be able to give you the correct answer. Many people say Allah is everywhere. It's not correct. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above his throne. The Prophet in Sahih Muslim asked a slave girl, where is Allah? And she said, Fis sama. So the Prophet said, free her, because she's a believer. These simple things that a slave girl would have known, many of us are ignorant of. If you were to ask you questions regarding istinja, istijmar, what are the conditions of istijmar? Are you allowed to use a tissue or not? If you are, what are the conditions? Many of us won't be able to give the answer. And then we do find people that don't know these answers, but then they do want to talk about big issues and topics about this should be done in the masjid and this should be done, or this is the ruling, or let me advise you on this person's a kafir, and this person you shouldn't listen to. You don't talk about these big issues, but no one knows these simple issues. But again, back to the topic of what we read, if you come back to what the ulama, they did and how they spent their lives. And the Prophet said, Al-ulama warathatul anbiya. The scholars are the inheritors of the prophets. The closest thing that we will get to the prophets now are the scholars. So we should follow them in footsteps. Any problem we have, we go to them. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ ذِكْرٍ كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Allah says, ask people of knowledge if you don't know. So the whole reason we mention these stories every week, I'm mentioning these stories, I'm mentioning, in the beginning we mentioned ayat and ahadith, is not just some story time, just so that you guys can, enjoy it for 5 minutes, but so that we can take something from this. And the main way you should take it, that should motivate you that, I need to learn something about my religion. When I'm in my grave, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to ask me about my religion. What I've accumulated in wealth, the status I got, all of this, Allah's not going to ask me about this. He's going to ask me about my religion. On Day of Judgment, He's going to ask me about my salah. How can I answer if I don't know if I pray my salah correctly? I don't know the rulings of salah. The ruling is not based upon what you see everyone else doing. It's based upon the Qur'an and Sunnah, but do I know that? So we should, alhamdulillah, like I said, the lessons are going on. There's many people that you can benefit here. We have, Sheikh Naeem here, we have Hawd Hamoud al-Rahman. Use them, utilize them. You will be asked about it. Wallahi, you will be asked about it. The Prophet ﷺ said, a person's feet will not move on the Day of Judgment until he is asked about 4 things. From those things is his life and how he spent it. You've got this time, you've got this, you've got the facilities, you've got the opportunity. And if you don't use it, and you don't take advantage of it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask you about it. And the Prophet ﷺ said, وَالْقُرْآنُ حُجَّةٌ لَكَ أَوْ عَلَيْكَ. The Qur'an is a proof for you or against you. And if you had the opportunity to learn, or even if you did know and you didn't act upon it, or you weren't sincere, the Qur'an will come on the Day of Judgment and it will be a witness against you on the Day of Judgment. And who wants the Qur'an, the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be a witness against us on the Day of Judgment? So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make the Qur'an a proof for us on the Day of Judgment and a witness for us. And ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us beneficial knowledge. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.